Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into something really interesting today. It's about economic growth
Okay.
in a small African town.
Interesting.
It's pretty fascinating. They're aiming for economic growth, but get this, they're doing it without smartphones
Really?
or the internet.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
amazing.
really challenges, some of our assumptions about what you need
Right.
to make progress. It's a town of just 5,000 people.
Small.
Yeah, so we're going to be taking a look at how they're doing it. And
Well, I know they're using something called the local multiplier effect to really drive things forward.
oh, the local multiplier effect?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of one of those economic terms that I feel like gets thrown around,
Yeah.
but maybe not always fully explained. So
Yeah, you're right.
could you break that down for me?
It's really more than just spending money locally. It's the idea that when money is spent within a community,
Okay.
it actually circulates multiple times, which really amplifies its impact.
Okay.
So imagine this. A farmer sells produce to a local restaurant.
Okay.
Right. And then the restaurant owner uses that money to pay their staff, buy supplies from other businesses in the area,
I see.
and it just keeps going. So each transaction keeps the money working within the community.
Okay, so it's less about like me going and buying a tomato from the farmer
Right.
and more about that money then getting respent over and over again.
Yeah, it's about creating a system.
A system.
Exactly. Where that money is constantly being reintroduced and reused.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
Now, the town we're focusing on has come up with this really interesting stimulus package
Okay.
to kickstart this effect. And it revolves around 6 key elements that all emphasize cooperation
Cooperation.
between farmers and artisans.
Okay, I like that.
Mhm.
So what's the first piece of this puzzle? How are they getting this economic engine going?
Well, they're starting by establishing a cooperative marketplace.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a central hub where farmers and artisans can come together not just to sell their goods,
Okay.
but also to pool their resources and collaborate.
That's interesting that they're emphasizing cooperation over competition.
Yeah.
It seems like that would require a lot of trust within the community.
Absolutely. The success of this model really depends on strong social bonds and that willingness to share.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that this community is really known for.
So it's like a modern-day version of those traditional marketplaces,
Exactly.
where relationships and bartering were just as important as
Absolutely.
cash transactions.
Going back to the roots of community economics.
Okay, so I can kind of get the concept, but
Yeah.
what would this marketplace actually look like?
So picture this. You walk in and there are designated zones for fresh produce.
Okay.
You've got handcrafted goods and even spaces for workshops and collaborations.
Cool.
So you could have a farmer selling their tomatoes right next to an artisan
Okay.
who makes beautiful hand-woven baskets.
I love that.
Perfect for carrying those tomatoes home.
Yeah.
They're even planning shared facilities,
Oh, wow.
like storage spaces and communal tools.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it helps reduce individual costs.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about giving each person a stall.
No,
It's about creating a whole system
it's an ecosystem.
that's designed for interaction and helping each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the marketplace, but they're not stopping there, right?
Oh, no.
What's the next step?
Well, the second element of the stimulus package is all about helping farmers and artisans create higher value products.
Okay.
So it's about moving beyond just selling raw ingredients or simple crafts
Oh,
and really adding value.
okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So how are they doing that? What are some examples of that value add?
So, for example, they're encouraging joint ventures
Okay.
where a farmer might supply fresh fruit to an artisan who then turns it into gourmet preserves
Okay.
using traditional recipes.
I love that.
And they're also looking at setting up shared processing units
Okay.
for things like milling grains or drying herbs, which would be too expensive for individuals
Weird.
to do on their own.
Yeah. So imagine this. You've got these locally sourced fruit preserves made with the freshest fruit from the farms nearby,
Yeah,
and then they're packaged in these beautifully handcrafted jars
exactly.
made by local artisans.
That's a perfect example.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And it seems like a really smart way to kind of maximize what they already have.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah,
Is what's
exactly.
key.
Especially because, we're talking about a town that doesn't have
Right.
easy access to a lot of traditional financing.
And that's why the third element of the package is so interesting.
Okay, what is it?
It's a barter and credit system.
Okay. So they're finding ways to keep the economy moving,
Exactly.
even when cash is tight,
Especially.
which makes a lot of sense in a small community where everybody knows each other.
Right.
So does that mean going back to like a completely cashless system?
Not necessarily. They're thinking about introducing a local token
Okay.
or a currency that's specific to the marketplace. So it allows for slightly more complex transactions than bartering
Yeah.
while still keeping things localized.
It's kind of a blend of the old ways and the new ways.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. So what else is in this plan? It sounds pretty elaborate already.
Well, the fourth element focuses on shared infrastructure
Okay.
to further reduce costs and make things more efficient.
Okay.
So this includes things like communal cold storage to keep produce fresh and reduce waste,
Okay.
and tool libraries
Oh, cool.
where farmers and artisans can borrow specialized equipment.
Instead of having to buy it themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so communal cold storage tool libraries.
Exactly.
They've
thought this through.
It sounds like a really well-designed system.
It is. And they're not stopping at just physical resources.
Okay.
The fifth element is all about skills development.
Which makes sense. I mean, if you want to create long-term economic growth,
Yeah.
you got to make sure people have the skills to do it.
Exactly. And they're taking a really interesting approach.
What are they doing?
So they're planning peer learning sessions
Okay.
where experienced farmers and artisans can pass on their knowledge
I like that.
to others in the community.
Right.
And they're also partnering with NGOs to provide more formal training.
So they're preserving that traditional knowledge while also bringing in some outside expertise.
That's a great blend.
Yeah, it's a smart way to make sure that their skill set stays up to date and relevant.
Right.
So what about young people? Are they involved in this plan?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
They're creating apprenticeship programs to teach valuable trades and agricultural skills to the next generation.
So it's really about more than just dollars and cents, right?
Yeah.
It's about preserving their cultural heritage and making sure that,
That's holistic.
yeah, and making sure that there are opportunities for everyone.
Exactly.
That's great. Now, I'm really curious about this last element.
Okay.
You mentioned that they're planning to leverage their unique cultural identity
Yes.
to add value to their products. How are they doing that?
They want to create a really distinct brand identity
Okay.
that's deeply rooted in their heritage.
So think handcrafted goods that are adorned with traditional patterns.
Exactly.
Local delicacies made with recipes that had been passed down
Yes.
for generations.
And stories woven into the very fabric of what they produce.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like they're creating an experience.
It's more than just a product.
It's not just a product. You're buying a story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're buying a piece of their culture.
It's really smart.
Yeah.
I mean, they're taking what might seem like limitations, being a small town,
Right.
not having a lot of digital access.
And turning them into strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're not just relying on intuition here either,
Yeah.
right?
No, they're not.
Tell me about how they're testing this plan out.
They're using something called agent-based modeling to run simulations.
Agent-based modeling. That sounds
Whoa.
pretty complex.
It is, but think of it like a virtual sandbox
All right.
where they can create a digital replica of their community and test out different scenarios.
Oh, that's cool.
So they can simulate transactions, map how money flows through the system,
That's really smart.
even experiment with different market layouts and pricing strategies.
Okay, so they can work out the kinks before
Exactly.
launching it in the real world.
It minimizes risk and maximizes their chances of success.
Okay, this is all super fascinating, but we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, we have.
There's so much more to explore. So in our next segment,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to delve deeper into some of the potential challenges they might face.
Right.
And we're going to look at how these principles could be applied in other communities.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
This is a really exciting story.
Hmm.
It's not every day you get to see a community so intentionally shaping its own future.
It's inspiring. It really is amazing how they're turning these limitations, like lack of technology,
Yeah.
into strengths.
It's a good reminder that development doesn't always have to rely on, the latest tech or these huge investments.
Mm-hmm.
It can start with just a commitment to community and a willingness to work with what you've got.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is that this approach isn't just relevant to,
Yeah.
small towns in Africa. These principles of cooperation and resource sharing,
Right.
they can apply anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique situation, but
Yeah.
the ideas themselves are universal.
Exactly.
I do wonder, though, it sounds great in theory,
Yeah.
but putting it into practice,
Right.
I mean, there's always challenges.
Oh, absolutely. Reality is always a bit messier than
Yeah,
our nice, neat plans.
exactly. So what are some of the things that they might run into? What are some of the challenges?
Well, one of the big ones is making sure that everyone benefits equally.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
They have to be really careful about existing power dynamics.
Right.
And they need to put things in place to prevent, a small group of people from hoarding all the wealth or resources.
So transparency and accountability
are huge.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you see that playing out in practice?
Yeah.
What would real transparency look like in this situation?
Well, it starts with having very clear guidelines for how decisions are made.
Right.
And how resources are allocated. So think publicly accessible records.
Okay.
Community meetings where plans are discussed openly.
Yeah.
A system for resolving disputes fairly.
So it's about empowering the community to hold their leaders accountable.
It can't just be a top-down plan.
Yeah.
It has to be a collaborative process.
And it's not just about fairness either, right? I mean, growth comes with its own set of disruptions and changes.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the potential downsides that they should be prepared for?
Well, one thing to think about is environmental sustainability.
Okay, yeah, that's important.
As economic activity increases, it can put pressure on natural resources. So they'll need to plan for things like responsible land use, waste management, making sure agricultural practices are sustainable.
So finding that balance.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah, between growth and protecting the environment.
Exactly.
Not always easy.
And they'll also need to think about infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can their existing roads and transportation systems and utilities handle increased demand?
Because it's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
One area of development then impacts all these other areas.
Exactly.
And we can't forget about the importance of preserving their cultural heritage.
That's right.
Amidst all of this change.
As the town becomes more prosperous, they'll need to be very intentional about protecting their traditions, their art forms, their way of life.
Because it's easy to lose those things.
It is.
In the face of globalization and...
Yeah, you can get swept up in the tide of progress and lose sight of what makes you unique.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but I want to go back to something you said earlier about how these principles could apply to other communities.
Yes.
Even those that have more access to technology.
Exactly. How would that look? Well, take the idea of the cooperative marketplace. Okay. In a more digitally connected community, this could be an online platform that connects local businesses with customers.
So like a digital farmer's market.
Exactly.
Bringing the local economy online.
And then that value addition piece that we talked about, that can be amplified by technology too.
Oh, so?
Well, online platforms can help artisans reach a much wider audience.
Okay.
They can promote their unique products.
Yeah.
They can even collaborate with, designers or marketers from other places.
So it's using technology to expand their reach.
Exactly.
But not
replacing the core principles.
The core values.
Exactly.
And even that skills development piece can be enhanced with technology, right?
Absolutely. Think about online workshops.
Yeah.
Virtual mentorship programs.
Even just using social media to connect people who have skills.
Yeah.
With those who want to learn.
It's all about connection.
It's really amazing to see how these simple ideas can be adapted and scaled up using technology.
It's a powerful combination.
And it really highlights it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we all have something to offer.
We do.
And that our collective, wisdom and creativity.
Shared humanity.
Yeah. That's what drives real change.
Exactly.
So I'm feeling really inspired by this story.
Me too.
It's a good reminder that even when things are tough, we have the power to create our own future.
Absolutely. This town is proof of that.
So before we move on to the last part of our conversation, I think you had a question for me and for our listeners.
I do. It's more of a thought experiment, really. Okay, so this town, right, they've done all this with limited tech.
Right.
What if we kind of flip the script?
So, yeah.
What if instead of thinking of technology as like a replacement for human connection, we thought of it as a way to boost those connections and really speed up this kind of community-led development?
I like that. So using tech as a tool to amplify these principles.
Instead of thinking of it as either or, it's like, how can we use both to make even more progress?
I can see how that could really make a difference.
Think about it. You could use the internet to build these virtual marketplaces that connect local producers with people all over the world.
Yeah.
So you're breaking down those geographical barriers and creating all these new opportunities.
It's like taking that local multiplier effect and giving it a global reach.
Exactly.
And what about things like, education and mentorship?
Oh, yeah.
Could technology play a role there?
Definitely. Imagine using social media to create these peer-to-peer learning networks. So you've got people all over the world sharing their knowledge and skills.
It's really exciting to think about all the possibilities.
It really is. I mean, technology is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to use it in a way that benefits everyone.
This whole conversation has been a great reminder that while technology can definitely help, it's really the human element, our ability to connect and collaborate and care for each other.
That's at the heart of real progress.
That's what makes a difference.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own lives?
Well, first, I think it's important to remember the power of the local multiplier.
Okay.
So every time you choose to support a local business, you're not just buying something. You're investing in your community.
It's about shifting your perspective. To see how everything is connected.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
And never underestimate the power of cooperation.
Yeah, working together makes everything better.
It really does.
Right.
Whether you're collaborating on a project or sharing resources or just lending a helping hand, every little bit of cooperation strengthens our communities.
So shop local, cooperate with each other.
Yes.
What's the third takeaway?
Don't be afraid to get creative. You know, this town has shown us that innovation doesn't always have to be fancy or expensive.
Right.
It starts with an idea, a willingness to try new things.
And a belief that things can be better.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a truly inspiring conversation, and I hope our listeners are walking away feeling energized and ready to make a difference.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep building a better world, one community at a time.